Ogden so far?
Ogden has blown my mind. It is incredible. I have no idea how I've liked Ogden. I haven't even been in Ogden. I just came here to the college and I saw that you've got malls and mountains. And maybe that should be your bumper sticker. Malls and mountains. I'd like to spend more time in Ogden.
How are you feeling about the speech tonight?
I'm a little nervous for my speech, but here's a good thing about commencement speeches is I wrote it in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm preparing it right now. It's all written and, so I know what I'm going to say. So that takes a little bit of the tension off.
That's good. All right, so what would your best advice for these young adults just starting out, what would that be? Like, if you could go back to when you were this age, like, is there anything that you would do differently?
I think my best advice for young adults is I think that people have a tendency to reduce their capacity, to think that they're not capable of their real capacity. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's important for young folk to dream big and to understand that probably they're capable of a lot more than they think they are. So that's where I would direct young folks.
That's great. I guess it kind of bounces off what I was going to ask next. If you could go back in time to your own undergrad graduation, if you could say something to yourself at that time, would you say anything?
I would give myself a very big hug after my graduation and just say, everything is going to be okay. It's all going to work out. It's never going to go down the way you think it is. So there's a kind of like a surrender of control that has to happen at the same time.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So many of these students out there that are about to graduate grew up watching The Office. How does it feel knowing that that show made such an impact on so many of their lives?
Well, one of the amazing things about The Office is that it really means so much to people. We didn't know that when we were making the show. We just wanted to make a good comedy. Mm-hmm. We wanted to make people laugh and make a little money and have a nice job. And the fact that it's lasted as long as it has and has become kind of a classic television show is pretty amazing. And we're so grateful. And every few years there's a new fan base. People watch it, preteens and teenagers and college kids have been watching it now for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. So, what are your biggest hopes for this new generation?
My biggest hope for this generation is that they get over themselves. I'm kidding. My hope for this generation is that they understand that they have a responsibility to make the world a better place. So you can live a good life, you can have a family, you can take care of yourself and the ones you love, but everyone has a role to play in helping make the world just a little bit better. You don't have to do it in some grandiose way. It can be in your cul-de-sac, it can be at your church, it can be at your school, it can be in your local park, whatever it is. But if we get people thinking on those terms, then we really can make the world better.
That's awesome. So I understand that you are getting an honorary degree tonight. Is this the first honorary degree you've ever received from the university?
This is the first honorary degree I've ever received. I don't even know what it's in. I hope it's in computer sciences. Because if I can get an honorary degree in computer science, then maybe I can fix my computer or something like that. I'm not sure that's how it works.
What was your biggest motivation for school when you were going through it?
Well, I loved school. I loved reading. I loved learning. I really, really wanted to be an actor. So I dove into theater and it was, and I think that's a really important part of school in the modern world. A lot of times, a lot of parents put pressure on kids like, school is just there for you to get a degree to learn a skill that is marketable and that will make you money when you graduate. And we've kind of lost that classic liberal arts education idea of like, let's read books and let's get different thoughts and travel and debate and have, you know, an influx of different ideas, because we also want to learn how to think and how to think bigger than the cul-de-sac in which we were raised. So I think it's important to embrace just the process of education.
Awesome. Out of all of the characters that you've played, who do you think would most enjoy Weber State University?
Of all the characters that I played, who would enjoy Weber State University the most? I've got Dwight Schrute's fingerprints are all over this college. First of all, he looks great in purple. And there's a lot of mountains, there are a lot of farms out here. And I'm sure there's beets being served in the cafeteria. But I think it's a kind of a rugged outdoorsy school, but it's also got a little bit of urban going on. It's a little bit Scranton-esque, so I'm gonna go with Dwight Schrute
Awesome.
as a what is it, a bearcat? Wildcat.
Yeah. Awesome. What's your favorite role you've ever had in your career?
My favorite role I've ever had, I've played so many roles. There's a movie I did called Super, I did about 10 years ago, and that was a really fun, dark, weird, funny role, and I was really grateful to play that.
That's awesome. So I've noticed in a lot of previous interviews, and even in the preface of Soul Boom, you kind of like assume that readers will wonder why the actor who played Dwight is like talking about spirituality. And I was wondering if that's something that you run into often. Do people kind of just like keep you in that box? Is it hard to move on and do other things?
Well, I think it's a challenge for any actor to be taken seriously in any other kind of sphere, you know, especially as a thinker or writer. And then it's especially challenging to as an actor who's so well known for one role and one role only. So, you know, that's a challenge. You know, people think of me as Dwight, and I love Dwight. Dwight is awesome. I wouldn't be here at Weber State if I hadn't played Dwight. There's so many opportunities that getting my honorary degree. Thank you, Dwight Schrute, for my honorary degree from Weber State. But yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge, and also it's a little bit weird too, especially in talking about spirituality, which is it's not a discipline you'd think of the guy who played Dwight, because Dwight is annoying and kind of rigid and nerdy and kind of bullying in a way. It's not kind of maybe the least spiritual character on television. So that's a little bit of a disconnect there. So people do kind of scratch their head about it, but at the same time, people have really embraced Soul Boom, and now we've got this new Soul Boom podcast that's out, and I just interviewed Angela Kinsey on it, and people have really enjoying that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's going well.
How do you think spirituality affects higher education?
Well, spirituality education is part of spirituality, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we're learning as we go. We're seeking wisdom. And now learning wisdom is a little bit different than learning knowledge, but they're connected. I think we never stop learning. It's not just about the 4 years that you're in college. You know, you want to keep learning into your 80s. You know, I think in your 90s you can be done, at least through your 80s. So, and that's a spiritual process, because, you know, God made the natural world, you know, as well as gave us intellect and creativity and imagination, and those are God-given attributes to exercise.
Great. What is the main takeaway from your speech tonight that you hope the graduates leave with?
I really want the graduates, I mean, my speech is about the meaning of life, but I don't know that anyone's going to leave with a light bulb on going, oh, finally, now I understand the meaning of life. I think it's really about thinking bigger and deeper about their educational journey, that this is one of many huge transitions that they're going to be making in the course of their life. And to really soak that in and understand that they are protagonists in their own journey.
So do you plan on writing any more books?
I do. I want to write more books. I'm not sure what they're going to be about. But I love writing. The process is really hard to write, but I love writing and acting, and I love podcasting and interviewing and giving talks, and it's part of who I am, and I love it. I even have an idea for a kind of a fantasy novel, kind of contemporary fantasy novel, kind of in the Harry Potter realm. So maybe I'll write that next.
Fun. All right, my last question. Given the chance, would you ever consider teaching a college course?
I want to find out what my honorary degree is in. Because that's gonna, if I get a degree in accounting, then maybe I can just teach accounting. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work, but yeah, I would love to. I would love to teach acting in college. I think I'd have a lot to impart about the craft of acting, and but I also love teaching classes about big ideas, great books, and stuff like that. So yeah, I would love to. Maybe Weber State will offer me a professorship.